I'm going to give you guys 10 lessons on how to get more clients as an artist and also how to get your first one if you are just starting off. Let's get straight to it. All right, lesson number one is that you need to understand the standard. Now, understanding the market and how good you need to be is extremely important. All right, so look at the studios and agencies that are putting out the work that you like and see if your skills match those. All right, this should be the bottom limit of where you should aim to be. Okay, because if you are looking to get hired as a freelancer, you should be able to match that and do better. Now, you may not be good enough, and that's totally okay, because instead of wasting time just trying to get a job, invest that time into building your skills so that you get paid higher in the long run. Remember, it is all about how much value you can provide and not just getting a job and then thinking that you'll scale up the ladder later on. Think about how you can be more valuable, and the easiest way to do that for an artist is to build up your skill set. Okay, so now that you understand that there's a standard you have to meet, what do you start creating and what kind of work do you make? All right. Let's move on to point number two, which is to create proof of concept projects. Now, create mock client projects for yourself where you can replicate what a studio or agency would do. People don't know how to actually evaluate something unless they see it. You can go around telling people what you can do for them, but unless you show proof that you've already done it once, they might not believe you. But how do you get proof when you do not have any client work in the past? You create these mock client projects, which just gives them a proof that you can do whatever you say. All right, so give people all the more reason to pick you when they have an idea in their head but do not know how to execute it. Let's look at some examples just off the top of my head. Redesigning logos of local grocery products around you, that's great for a graphic designer. Illustrating covers of your favorite books, great for an illustrator. Creating album art for songs that you really like, another great thing that an illustrator can do. And redesigning characters and how they would actually look in the books, great for character design, concept art, and so on. Okay. Now, let's move to the next point, which is make your pitch easy to understand. So a lot of times when we reach out to clients with ideas of our own, we often overcomplicate things too much, okay? Now remember, this is very important at different aspects of your career, all right? Because even when I was working at Disney, when I made a pitch or gave an idea for something, it would have to pass through different levels until you get the feedback from above. So it's very important to note that your idea is going to be taken by someone else and explained to their higher up, right? Even someone who's reading your email, they're not just going to forward an email and be like, look at that email to their boss, right? They're going to go to their boss and be like, look, there's an artist who's good at this, and this is what they're proposing to do. Right? So you need to make it as easy as possible for that person to take your information and convey it to the next person, which is why do not overcomplicate things by using fancy words or hidden meanings and all of that. Just make things as obvious as possible. The more simple it is, the better. You can always detail it out more once it gets approved. Then you can go all out. The getting it approved and getting that check mark and getting yourself a client or your idea like initiated is extremely important, and then you can go all out with that. Next thing is most clients aren't artists themselves, okay? So do not expect them to understand design principles and details that you do, okay? Clients care about the value you provide and the results they can get, not about the fundamentals of art. So do not go about trying to explain all these things to clients when their head is already filled with their job and what they need out of you. Okay, you need to be an asset to them, especially if they are paying you money. You want to provide value back and build a good relationship. So make yourself accessible and easy to understand. This is a big selling point for getting people to want to work with you. This also includes the work you put out. The easier it is to understand, the wider your audience, right? So keep that in mind. Also, the illustrations that you guys are seeing here on the left are just random art that I've made by myself, and I just didn't want the presentation to look bland. So I just put out some illustrations here and there. If you want to know how it is made, check out my Patreon and Gumroad. My Patreon has a ton of free lessons. The link is in the description. Okay, moving on. Number 5 is super important, is to suggest things back to clients. I cannot tell you guys how many artists have lost opportunities because of this one point, myself included. Clients usually need to get a job done, and there are many different creative ways to do so, right? So in case a client is suggesting something and you're not the right fit for it, if you have a better idea and you have a way in which you can work on the project, but a different sort of outcome based on your own skills, suggest that back to the client. There's no harm in doing that. Right? Instead of just saying, I'm not the right person for the job, see if you can be. And that builds your relationship with the client. That shows how resourceful you can be. And a lot of clients are usually not too stuck up on just getting one thing done. They just need a job to get done. For example, if it's marketing an ad for something, they need just the creators for that marketing. It doesn't really depend too much on the finer details in a lot of cases. Of course, as the brands get higher up, when they have their own design teams in-house and all, then they just hire based on those specifics. But if you are a beginner artist, a lot of clients you will be working with are usually a bit more open to changes and your own ideas when starting off. Point number 6 is to make it feel like the idea was the client's. This is very important because you need to involve clients in the process and make them suggest things back. This makes the client feel ownership over the product and would push more for its success. Okay, this also makes it easier for them to work with you as opposed to you suggesting, demanding, or directing everything. Okay, aim to build working relationships. So always aim to get your clients' input or make them feel like they were the one who came up with the final decision, because that is very important for them taking the project ahead, right? So you need to make them feel like they own it. Okay, moving on. Point number 7 is to collaborate with people outside your niche. This is extremely overpowered, okay? It often opens doors which you didn't think existed. This also increases the scope of how much value your art can add to the world, because this is a huge part of us being an artist. And the more you do and the more you step out of your zone, that is also where you might see opportunities that you would never have thought of before. So once again, don't just wait for opportunities, come up with ideas and reach out. Now, for example, right, you can create album art for new music artists. You can create book covers for authors. You can find them on many Facebook groups, Reddit groups, and so on. And painting art on the walls of a restaurant or on their menus, like especially if you can do it on the menu, and then you can, put your handle at the bottom, be like art by so and so. That is like insane free marketing just for you, especially if the restaurant has good food. Right? And offering to create logos for free to initially build your portfolio and your network. This is super important, because if you can have a working relationship with people and you make them a good logo, they might come back to you, whatever their business, to do their branding, their packaging, their social media stuff, all of that. Because everyone right now is focusing a lot on social media and their marketing, because social media is free. So what stops a brand from putting out more and more content? And what do they need for that? Good designers, good artists. That's where we step in. Right? So you can do that for free initially, and only initially. In the case that you don't have your portfolio built out, just reach out to people, be like, I can do this free. I mean, if you put it out on Reddit or on Discord, be like, do you guys have small businesses? I wouldn't mind designing a logo free for you. I'll take 5 of you right now. And then you can put that out as a portfolio project, right? That's insane. It's like overpowered. All right. Next is to make it easy for people to recommend you. Okay. So do not make your client go on a journey when they have to find out more about you. They have to do 10 or 20 clicks and all of that. So make it super simple. Have a website, have proof of your work, optimize your bio, where it's just one click. Maybe you have a link tree or something, and then you see everything about you. That's it. Make it easy for people to find out all your details. I cannot stress about how crazy some of the portfolios of websites that we've gotten at the animation studio in the past, where it looks all fancy with animations and art and quirky stuff, but I just want to see the work. Again, most beginner artists are usually not up to the standard of higher up in the industry. So even that work that's polluting the page is not of the highest quality. So that really puts off the client, right? You're like, why is this the standard? Instead, just show good quality work, keep it clean, keep it simple. I want to see how to contact this person. I want to see what work they've done. And that is all, okay? And make an obvious hire me sign. And how do they hire you? What kind of work you're open to? Very simple, very straightforward. That's all that you need. And make sure that this is one of the first things that people see when they come to your page. Point number 9 is to show your process and problem solving, right? The more you can show off how you went about creating your ideas and solving problems, the more accessible you are going to be. So it's very important to show your breakdown, especially for clients, because even though the final artwork may not be what the client is looking at, they might see your process and how you came up with solutions, and that could be incredibly valuable for them, because in client projects or studios or agencies, there's usually a team working at different levels. So for example, if your storyboard is really good, but your final output, the rendering or the skill level of that final painting is not good enough, but your storyboarding, your pacing, your camera angles, all of that is excellent, clients can pick out on that if they see the process and see what's gone behind it. Right? So you can show all the final outputs of your work on social media, but keep a portfolio site to explain your workflow. Then make that workflow super easy to understand. Once again, don't make anyone go on a journey to try and understand you. Try and make it so that like an 8th standard kid or something could just look and understand everything that you're putting out, and that should be the standard, and just assume that that is the understanding level of everyone, because like I said earlier, most clients are not artists themselves. Okay, next, build your network. I kept this point last because this is something that we can do at any point, at any time. You don't have to be a good artist for it. Now, something that made me realize this was when I was at Disney, people would first ask for recommendations for jobs before putting out a hiring notice. And that's insane, right? They would come and ask, do you know a graphic designer for this? Do you know a graphic designer for that? And this actually happened to me where one of the higher ups came and asked for a position. I suggested like one of my friends and I put it out on the group. 3 of them came for the interview. One of them actually got ahead in the interviews, and I don't think the job worked out because then COVID hit, but still the opportunity was there, and that's insane. But that's why it's super important to build your network. And how do you do that? Just be more active on social media, even if you're not putting up art or posts, right? Engage with accounts, join Discord channels, talk to other artists. This talk is very important, right? You can always leave just comments, DMs, all of this, what you like about it, and show some of your work and engage with artists who are at your current level. All of that is super cool. This is also super important where you go to artist events, conventions, and pop-ups, right? Because here's where you meet people face to face, and that builds a relationship a lot. Like sometimes when I get on calls with artists, I always love doing a video call instead of just a voice call or not having the image there, because it just builds that one-to-one human connection, which is super important. And the next thing you want to do is talk openly about what you are looking to do and where you see yourself adding value. Don't just say you're an artist and then expect someone to contact you in the future. Go into details and talk about what kind of art you like, what your interests are, and where you can provide value. Because the next time that person comes across an opportunity like that, where someone else is suggesting or requesting an artist for something that's very specific, your name and your face will come to that person's mind. Be like, oh, I met this artist at this convention. They do exactly this, what you're looking for. You do not know how many opportunities you're missing out because of that. The next thing is to remember that out of sight is out of mind. So the more days go by that you do not put yourself out there on social media or out in conventions and all that, the more people are going to forget you. Okay, and this even goes so for clients, this goes so for recommendations, this goes for everything, right? Now, aim to build relationships before you actually need them. This is very important. Don't just make them transactional. So invest in others before expecting anyone to invest in you. And this is how you build your community. This is how you build relationships. This is how you build your clientele. This is how you build everything about being a successful artist in this field. So those are 10 points that I hope has been useful for you. Now, if you want anything more specific or anything, leave it down in the comments below. I read every comment. And thank you guys for joining in. I'm working on more videos like this to put out all my knowledge and information for you guys on YouTube. So thanks for all the love and support.